It was just a regular weekend day. In the evening, I went to the movies with my girlfriend to watch a film. Some lame horror, but it was the last thing playing. So we went. We were the only two people in the theater for the entire screening. When we got out, I really had to use the bathroom, too much soda during the movie. My girlfriend said she didn't need to go and would wait for me outside, right by the restroom entrance. The restroom was pretty standard urinals and stalls. I've never liked using urinals, so I went into one of the stalls to relieve myself. Only a moment passed before someone else came in. I was a little surprised. Who could it be? The whole theater had seemed deserted. Still, I finished what I was doing, not thinking too much of it, until the person entered the stall next to mine. These stalls were the kind that are open at the bottom so you can see if someone's really inside. That's when I got my second shock. A leg was sticking out from the neighboring stall, positioned like the person was standing facing the wall between us. His legs were filthy. He had no shoes on. His toenails were long and yellowed. Horrified, I barked out, "What the hell are you doing?" No answer. I tried to finish up as fast as I could. The whole situation was creeping me out. That's when I heard a man's voice, familiar somehow, though I couldn't place it. He just said, "Finally, it's over." And that's when panic completely took over. I zipped up and stormed out of the stall, ready to punch whoever was out there. But to my shock, the stall next to mine was empty. Completely empty. There wasn't a soul in the restroom besides me. That freaked me out even more. I washed my hands quickly, splashed cold water on my face, hoping to pull myself together. Everything looked normal. I hurried to get back to my girlfriend. But then came the next surprise. I couldn't get out of the restroom. I opened the door and walked out, only to find myself in another restroom. Identical. Same urinals, same stalls, same sinks. I froze, confused. Maybe I just walked through two doors without realizing it. I went through another. Same thing. Again. Identical bathroom. Something's wrong, I thought. I turned back and tried to go out a different way. Same again. A restroom. I passed through 3 or 4 doors. No change. That's when real panic set in. "What now?" I muttered. I pulled out my phone. They'll think I'm crazy, but I'll call for help. No signal, no bars, nothing. Total panic. I started running. I didn't even know where to. I just ran. Slamming doors open left and right, but every time the same, just another bathroom. I don't know how far I went or how many restrooms I passed through. I just kept walking and walking until my legs gave out. I had no idea how long I'd been in there. There were no windows, no clocks, and my phone still frozen at 9:45 p.m. The same time, every time I checked, it felt like forever. The rooms were all the same, each one opening into the next, leading nowhere. Eventually, exhausted, I collapsed. I opened another door and saw yet another familiar restroom. No matter how disgusting the floor was, lying down on it felt weirdly comforting. I fell asleep right there, sprawled across the tiles. I don't know how much time passed before I woke up. My phone had finally died, so I couldn't even see the usual 9:45 anymore. But my cracked lips and gnawing hunger told me one thing for sure: I'd been trapped in this nightmare for a while, and as hopeless as it felt to wake up still in that bathroom, I knew I couldn't just stay there. I had to get out somehow, even if the door wouldn't let me. My first plan was to find water. That didn't take long to figure out, given I was in a bathroom with at least 6 sinks. And sure enough, water flowed. Ice cold, fresh water, even warm if I turned the handle the right way. That felt like half a victory already. From all the survival documentaries I'd obsessively watched, I knew a person couldn't live more than 3 days without water. Now I could only hope I wouldn't be stuck here long enough to have to start worrying about food. Since I now had a water source, I figured I should search the room properly. Maybe I'd find something useful. I checked all the sinks and the pipes underneath. I even managed to disassemble one water still poured out of it, but there was nothing of interest, not even a speck of dust. So I figured I'd check each stall one by one, just in case. But again, nothing. Every toilet was spotless, a couple rolls of toilet paper, that's all. Until I got to the last stall. There, on the wall beside the toilet, I spotted a vent. It wasn't big, just wide enough for maybe my arm to fit through, but it had a grate screwed in at 4 corners. I started looking for something to remove it with. That's when I remembered my keychain. My girlfriend had once given me a tiny Swiss Army knife that could attach to it. It had a screwdriver head. It sort of fit the screws. Good enough. I got to work. When I finally pried the grate off, I actually shouted with joy. Maybe this is the way out. The vent was completely dark and narrow. I pressed my ear to it and heard faint noises like something skittering inside. Still, I had no better ideas, so I started yelling into the vent. "Help, somebody help me. I'm trapped in the bathroom." I called my girlfriend's name just in case she was somehow nearby. Nothing. No police kicking in the door. No girlfriend's voice calling back. I hesitated, then thought, what if I just reach in? Maybe there's something in there, anything, just something to push this nightmare forward. So I rolled up my sleeve and shoved my arm into the dark opening. No hesitation. I pushed as far as I could go. Huge mistake. There was something inside. Small, hard, moving. They wriggled across my skin, tickling it. I screamed. Yeah. A grown man, shrieking like a little kid. I yanked my arm back as fast as I could. That's when I saw them, cockroaches, crawling up and down my arm. Small, brown, sluggish. Dozens of them. I screamed again, more out of rage this time, swiping them off as fast as I could. I've never been afraid of bugs, not really, but this time, this was too much. I stumbled out of the stall, furious. I don't think I've ever cursed that much in my life. I yelled for minutes straight, just shouting how much I hated this place and how badly I wanted to get out. But no one heard me. The restroom looked the same as always, except now it was slightly torn apart. I'd had enough. I needed to get out. I was sick of this place. The white tiles, the pristine stall doors, and especially the stupid mirrors above the sinks where I had to look at myself. In a rage, I ran to the door and threw it open as hard as I could. But of course, nothing changed, just another identical bathroom. I screamed at the top of my lungs, like a man losing his mind. I sat there on the bathroom floor, staring blankly ahead. To my right, I'd propped open the exit door with a trash can and saw that behind it was just another bathroom. I did the same thing to the door on my left. Same view, identical restrooms stretching in both directions. Not a single difference. I considered bracing open more doors in each direction, but honestly, I didn't have the energy anymore. And now I had a new problem anyway, hunger. Deep, clawing, maddening hunger. I had no idea how long I'd been there. At some point, I'd fallen asleep again. I had realized that if I lay completely still on the floor, the motion sensor lights would switch off, so I could sleep normally. The dark even helped me trick myself into feeling like I wasn't really stuck in a bathroom at all. But this time, waking up, the hunger hit hard. I felt weak, powerless. My thoughts came sluggish and broken. I couldn't even think straight, didn't want to. What was the point? That's when I heard the scuttling sounds. They were familiar. I'd heard them before. That's because it was the cockroaches. But this time, they weren't coming from the vent. They were spilling out of the pipes I'd previously dismantled beneath one of the sinks. Falling out, as if someone were tossing them through the pipe at me. They crawled lazily across the floor, clearly unbothered by my presence. Just another part of the scenery. That's when all those survival shows I used to watch came flooding back. My brain flipped a switch. No, you're not dying of starvation in here. Suddenly, I knew what I had to do. Everything clicked into place. I grabbed the 2 small metal trash cans I'd been using to wedge the doors open. I turned on one of the taps, the hottest water I could get, and placed a can underneath, filling it to the brim. It didn't boil, but it steamed, and it felt hot enough. I placed the other can beneath the broken pipe, and the cockroaches immediately began falling in. They didn't even try to escape. It was like they were waiting for it. My next brilliant idea, gut them. I mean, you don't eat just any part of an animal, right? Probably the same goes for bugs. So I pulled out my tiny Swiss Army knife once again, proving to be incredibly useful, and started butchering them, one by one. I sliced off anything that didn't look edible, anything too hard, anything that seemed like armor or shell. What was left were soft, pale, fleshy little chunks. Looked like, I don't know, chicken. I told myself it might taste like chicken too. I forced myself not to think about the guts running down my hand, or the rotting smell they gave off. I just dropped the little edible bits into the hot water, one by one, hoping the bath might at least make them feel cleaner, easier to swallow. Soon, 40 or 50 bits of cockroach meat floated in the steaming can. And I'll admit something I was proud of myself. I felt like a proper survivor. Not lost in the Amazon rainforest, no, just lost in an endless public restroom. But now came the hard part, actually eating them. I grimaced. I stalled. But my stomach twisted with hunger again, and I had no choice. Surprisingly, it wasn't that bad. Worse than I expected in some places, bitter, mostly where I hadn't cleaned them well enough. I spit those parts out. But the rest, I got it down. I couldn't believe I was sitting on a bathroom floor, eating half-cooked cockroach meat like soup. But I felt full, kind of, enough to think clearly again. Back to the real goal, getting out of here. Maybe I'd missed something. A clue, a crack. Something, so I kept going. One bathroom after another, trying to spot even the tiniest difference. I don't know how long that lasted. At some point, I fell asleep again just from exhaustion. But I did learn some things. Every room is the same. Every sink, every stall, every mirror, exactly the same. Except they're not in a loop. I'm not walking in circles. These rooms open into each other, forward, not backward. I tested it. I marked a stall, walked through a few more bathrooms, came back. The mark was still there. So I am moving, just not toward anything I understand. Also, water's always available. Cockroaches too. So, like it or not, I've got food and water covered. As far as survival goes, I'm fine. Well, raw cockroach meat isn't exactly good for digestion. But it was either that or starve. After waking from what I think was my second nap, I made a decision. Judging by my stubble, I'd been in here 4 or 5 days already, and I still hadn't found an exit. That's when I decided to go as far as I physically could. I don't even know how the idea hit me, but I'd counted there were 4 toilet stalls and 5 urinals per room. I multiplied them, 20. So from then on, I'd move forward 20 bathrooms at a time. After each 20, I'd stop, make dinner if you can call it that, drink, rest, and check if anything had changed. And that's what I did, marching forward, clinging to some absurd little math-based system, hoping it might lead me out of this place. I found nothing. No change, no clue, no exit. I didn't even know how long I'd been walking this pattern, moving through these bathrooms in sets of 20. My beard had grown out. I tried trimming it with my tiny pocket knife, with mixed results. My hair, too. I cut it as best I could. My body had withered. I was thin, gaunt. I'd lived off cockroaches for I didn't know how long. My clothes were ragged and filthy, even though I washed myself every 20th room using the lukewarm tap water and the refilling soap dispensers. I even cleaned my clothes sometimes, as much as I could, at least. But it was wearing me down. The endless repetition. The same white tiles, the same stalls, the same damn mirrors showing me a ruined man, a wreck. A ghost of what I used to be. I reached my 20th bathroom again, who knows the number anymore, and collapsed on the floor. Every emotion I'd bottled up hit me at once. Sorrow, rage, hopelessness. I sat there broken, sobbing. Then the fury came. I stood up, as best I could, and I went berserk. I tore at the stall doors, ripped the toilet paper from the holders, kicked and punched the sinks, smashed everything in sight. I picked up a trash can and shattered the mirrors. I didn't want to see myself anymore. I yanked a pipe loose again and used it like a club. I shattered the tiles. I cracked a toilet into pieces. Water spilled from every surface I'd broken. The stalls were hanging half off their hinges. I sat there panting, dripping, a shattered man in a shattered room. Then I heard something, a sound. Not the rustle of cockroaches. No, this was different. Louder, something bigger. I followed it. It came from the shattered toilet. From the pipe, scratching, clawing. I grabbed the pipe and smashed the porcelain even more until I found the sewage drain. The sound was louder now, but when I looked in, nothing. No point in being cautious anymore. I reached in, and something bit me. A flash of pain. I yanked my hand out, and a medium-sized rat was dangling from my finger, gnawing furiously. I screamed and flung it against the wall. Its skull burst like rotten fruit against the tiles. I stood there, hand bleeding, blood mixing with the leaking water and the rat's smashed body. What happened after that? I won't describe. Even if I wanted to, I don't think I could. My mind broke in ways I don't want anyone else to ever understand. Sometimes I was aware of myself. Sometimes it felt like someone else was in control. I stopped washing, stopped trimming anything, started eating rats, stopped cleaning the cockroaches. My bitten finger got infected. Badly. So, half-conscious, I bit down and sawed it off with my knife. I wrapped the stump in toilet paper, kept it as clean as I could. But I didn't know how long I'd been here. Months, years. I looked like a homeless man, maybe worse, but I didn't care. I didn't know what I was doing anymore. And then something different happened. I walked into a new bathroom, and one of the stalls was locked. I froze, stared at it. Was this real a hallucination? Wearing my filthy clothes, barefoot, I stumbled toward it, but I didn't touch it. Didn't say anything. Instead, I entered the stall next to it. I stood between the locked stall and mine, then rested my forehead against the wall, and then I heard it. A voice, familiar. A man's voice, angry, confused, but unmistakably familiar. And I smiled, because I knew this moment. I had been here before. I had lived this already. And in a dry, cracked voice, I whispered, "Finally, it's over."